Well, lovely to see you all, and welcome to Kevin.
Yep.
It is Kevin, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Good, I remembered. I do try. I'm not always. I try. So, do you know? Have you been informed of anything about what the group's about and what we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, the general format is we have a topic every week, and then there's a couple of exercises that we do, and it's just about encouraging people to bring a bit of mindfulness to their lives, just living in the present moment, because it's the only moment we've got. Past is gone, future hasn't happened. It's all about the now, and that's what we do. And the topic for this week is time flies. Time flies. I suppose it came about because I suppose I had a bit of a nostalgia trip the other week, and was aware of how much time has passed. So, I was, well, what was it that prompted it? Maybe I think that there's a TV show that's a series that's restarted. This is England 90. I don't know if you remember. By Shane Meadows, wonderful Nottingham filmmaker. But it's set in 1990, and of course it's got all the music from that time. So it's all about the Manchester scene and all that. And that, for me, it resonates because back in 1990 I was 15 and it was all emerging, and it resonated with me. So it took me back to my formative years, my adolescent years, and then I realised that was 25 years ago. And you think, crikey, how did that happen? How did we get from?
Where did that go?
Exactly. Doesn't time fly? And I thought that it's something we've touched on before, but I thought that given that was something that was prevalent in my mind at that time, it's a good topic for discussion this week. So I'll come back to that in a minute. We'll do an exercise, get ourselves nicely in the moment, and then we can talk a bit about that. Okay, so the first exercise that we tend to start with, as you will know, is engaging the senses. For your benefit, Kevin, if you're not aware, predominantly it's our senses, the information that we receive through our senses, that tell us where we are in time and space, what's happening around us now. So as much as mindfulness is about awareness of what's going on around us, it's also being aware of what's going on internally, but being aware of what's around us outside, externally, is a good place to start to get us into the moment. So all we do is we just engage the senses one at a time and move our awareness from one sense to the next. So we just start by having a look around and just seeing what we can see. And we're not labelling things, we're not making any judgments, we're just looking, just seeing colour and shape, and just stopping to see. And once you've had a little look around, if you wish, you may close your eyes and turn your awareness to your body and what you can feel. So aware of the weight of your body sat in the chair, your back pressed against the back of the chair. Aware of gravity pulling down through the shoulders, down through the arms. Aware of the position of your arms. Pressure against your skin where your arms are in contact with other parts of your body. Aware of your bottom pressing into the seat. Aware of your legs going down to your feet, being in contact with the floor. Aware of your clothes against your skin. And then aware of the movement of air. You can feel it on your hands and your face. Then you can move your awareness to your sense of smell and just be aware of smell. Take a few nice breaths through the nose and just smell. And then taste. Aware of the taste in your mouth at this moment in time, right now. And then finally we move our awareness to listening and to sound. And for the next few moments, just be aware of sound as it happens. If your mind wanders, doesn't matter, just acknowledge that it's wandered and bring your awareness back to listening. It's just accepting sound as it happens, moment by moment. Even though there is activity that we can hear, traffic noise that we can hear, as you sit and allow it to happen and accept it, you can be aware of a stillness that exists within you and around you. Even though that activity is taking place. Good. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. So while I was on my little nostalgia trip, and thinking about the things that informed me as a youngster, as a teenager, talking with my wife, we reminisced about various cultural phenomena that happened back when we were teenagers, and we started talking about films. We came up with this idea that we're going to one day we're going to have an 80s film night, and we'll get a few 80s films, because my wife loves an 80s film, and we'll get a few of those out, and we can sit and binge on 80s nostalgia. And quite by chance, it was either that day or the following day, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I don't know if you know that film, Ferris Bueller, was on the telly. And it's a brilliant film, fantastic film, classic 80s film. But there is a very famous quote from Ferris Bueller when he is giving his reasons for wanting to take a day off school at Sky and go and have an adventure, and he says, life moves pretty fast, and if you don't, what's he said? Life moves pretty fast, and if you don't stop now and again, you'll miss it. And it's so true. It's so true, and that resonated with that my thinking of 1990 being 25 years ago, and how life does move pretty fast. Before I've realised it, I'm 40 years old, and it's 25 years later, and I'm not a teenager anymore, even though I feel it. And I began thinking about that, and obviously they say time flies when you're having fun, but it seems that it's not just when you're having fun. It's just time flies. It does. And it's relentless, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is just, and that's the thing about it. It is relentless. As much as we want to stop it and hold on to it, or preserve a particular period in our life and think, I don't want things to ever change, I wish it could stay like this forever. It doesn't, and it is just relentless, and moments will continue to march onwards, moment after moment after moment. And yes, if you don't allow yourself the opportunity now and again to just stop, you do miss it. You will miss it. We've made the we've compared it in the past to that car journey where you get in the car at point A and you arrive at point B and have no recollection of the journey in between. No, I don't even remember leaving the house, and here I am. And how sad it would be that if that was our life. If we finally reach the end destination, point B, the final destination, and we're lying there, about to take our final breath, and think, oh crikey, where did that life go? What happened? Don't remember any of it. Because it's just flown by. And so that's where mindful practice comes in, that's where the mindfulness comes in, because that is, as Ferris Bueller said, that's the opportunity to stop. And whilst you can't prevent that relentless march of time, if you do practice some mindfulness, one, you are aware of that march of time, and you don't miss it. You don't miss it, so that when you do get old and grey.
Careful.
So I'll refer it back to you. When you get old and grey, things start to spread. You look in the mirror and it's all starting to get a bit more linear than it used to be. You are more aware of the journey that's led you to that point. And I think hopefully you're less likely to either hanker after a return to those times. Because that's it. Whilst I had my little nostalgia trip, and I remembered how fantastic it was being 15, and the Stone Roses emerging And I remember at that age I used to play the drums. I used to have a drum teacher. And I remember going in for a drum lesson, and my drum teacher, who was, he was a middle-aged man back then, he must have been well in his 50s. He said, I was watching Top of the Pops last night, and there was a band on it called the Stone Roses, and they played this song, and it had the most amazing drum rhythm to it. And he taught all of those boys that had drum lessons with him, he taught us all how to do the drum beat for Stone Roses' Fool's Gold. And I remember, and I still remember that to this day with fondness. And I remember, and I have great fondness for those times, even though actually that time in my life when I was 15, it was incredibly difficult. It was, I think my father had died a year before that, so sort of, I suppose emotionally I was a bit of a mess, but I still had a great time, and I still look back on those years with fondness. But I don't have the desire to, or I don't have a strong desire to wish that I was back there, doing it all again. Even though I suppose at that time I wasn't, I didn't particularly practice mindfulness. There was elements of it, I suppose. I've always had elements of that, and an awareness of that. But I wasn't, I didn't practice mindfulness then. It's more recent that it's become more cemented in my way of being. But even so, I don't crave a return to that. I'm content. I'm able to rest in this present moment and accept it. And hopefully it enables me to be happier about things. You see a lot of people that are very miserable because, and all they do is say, oh, I wish it was like it used to be. And I'm not just talking about, those old biddies that stand at the bus stop and go, oh, it wasn't like this. I think there's a lot of young people that do it as well. Yeah. Oh, I wish it was like it was last week, or last month, or last year. But of course it never can be. It never can be. It can only be as it is now. It can only be as it is now. And whatever is happening now, and if it is labelled as good or bad, it is what it is. And if you can accept it, then and also stop and be aware of it, then that incessant march of time doesn't cause the levels of angst and frustration that it does for those people that do not allow themselves to be aware of it, do not allow themselves to just rest in the present moment for a short while. Because time flies, whether you're having a miserable time or a fun time.
Seems to drag when you're having a miserable time, Jim.
Well, it does. Yeah, it does. It can do. See, I always remember an episode as a child. When I was younger, I remember I used to come home from school on the bus, and I used to get off the bus on Mapley Tops, this is near where I lived in Nottingham, and I would have to walk from the bus stop home, as many people do, but the path was down a big hill like that, and then up, and it was a massive hill. Well, it certainly was for me, because when I was 11, 12 years old, I was only a winky little thing.
Exactly.
And I'd have my big bag full of books, and it was I mean, I don't know if you know Nottingham, it's hilly. It's not like Kent, it's not like Deal, where, Mill Hill is nothing. That's just a gentle slope. And I remember one time, as a child, I'd come down to the bottom and was about to start the ascent of Bennett Road, and it was raining and it was cold. It was probably November time, something like that. So it was pitch black, raining, cold. I'd had a long day at school. I was tired. I got this big bag that I was carrying on my back, and I was trudging up the hill. And I remember even then, as a child, slogging my way up this hill and thinking, God, this is rotten. But also saying to myself, you will get home. The point in time will come when you will be at home and you will have changed out of your school uniform. You'll have put your books down. You'll be having your tea. You'll be in the warm. You'll be in the dry. And you won't be suffering as I am now. And and of course, within 10 minutes later, I was home and I was changed, I was dry, I was warm. And I suppose I had an awareness that maybe it was a little moment of epiphany, but just that even when you are in that moment that is tedious and dragging and unpleasant, and it feels like you're never going to get to the top of that hill and get in the warm and get out of the rain and the dark. You will. You will. There are always, that's the one thing that you can guarantee. There will always be other moments. And I suppose if there is a moral to that story, it is that if you do continue, if you accept that situation in that present moment, but continue, then you'll get there and it will change. I suppose, if I'd given up and thought, well, I'm just going to sit here on the curb because I don't want to walk anymore. I'd still be sitting. That's it. I'd still be sitting there now, and my school uniform wouldn't fit me.
Jim's been over there 25 years.
Yeah. I remember that kid when he was.
It's perspective, isn't it?
Well, exactly.
Putting it into the perspective, because pain is only temporary, isn't it?
It is.
But when you're in that pain, it seems it's never going to go away because you can't see beyond the pain.
Yes. And the other aspect to it is it's like fear as well. When you're in a situation like that, or when you're in a situation where there's fear, actually, it isn't real. The fear isn't real. Fear is just something that your brain concocts and invents. It's just thoughts and ideas, and they're not real. And that's the same. That tediousness of it isn't real. That's just me putting a label on it. It is what it is. There's an old I don't know whether it's a Zen story, but there was I can't remember the name of the character, but he was punished for his crimes in life, and his punishment was to spend eternity rolling a boulder up a mountain. And when he got to the top, the boulder would roll down, and he'd go down, and he'd have to do it all over again. And that was his lot for the entirety of his afterlife, pushing this boulder up the hill. And you could. I remember there's a book that I read by a lady called Joko. Can't remember her surname. She runs a Zen centre out in San Francisco, I think it is. And she talked about that story, and she put some quotes in from some of her students, asking, and she opened it up to her students and said, well, what would you do if that was the situation you were in, and you had to spend the rest of eternity pushing this boulder up? And some of them said, oh well, I'd try and turn it into a game and see if I could push the boulder up quicker and all this kind of stuff. And she said, well, you can't do that. That's not. The only sensible way to approach it is to be mindful and accept the fact that at that moment you're pushing the boulder. It doesn't matter how many times before that, whether it's the first time, the 1000th time, or the 100,000th time you're pushing that boulder up. At that moment, that's what you're doing, and that's what you must be aware of and focus on. And you can't think, oh, I'm going to have to do it. You You can't think, oh, when it gets to the top, it's going to roll down. I want to do it all over again, and then, you know, how many more times have I got to do it? All you can do is just be aware of it in that moment. Be pushing the boulder and be aware of it, be mindful of it, and accept it. And if you can do that, then that's where you're going to find that inner peace that we all crave.
Yeah, because in thinking about getting to the top and it's going to roll down, that's the undercurrent that's destroying you with
Exactly. Yeah.
whatever. Or
And that will be what breaks you. That will be what destroys your spirit and destroys your ability to be happy, because you'll be focused on either what's going to happen in the future, the fact that it's going to roll down, you're going to have to do it again, or you're going to focus on all those times that it's happened before, and that's going to make you unhappy.
yes,
The only way to be happy is just to accept it in that moment, and find a moment of peace in that moment whilst you're pushing it. Just to be aware of it.
sun could be shining.
Exactly. And just aware that moments will change, and there will be other moments. Unfortunately, we are not, whilst it might feel like we are constantly pushing a boulder up a mountain, fortunately, we're not.
Nothing stays the same for any length of time.
It doesn't, that's it. Time flies, things change.
Yep.
The Stone Roses break up and then they reform. And I finally get to go and see them play. As I did a couple of years ago. And I relived my teenage years. Drank too much and jumped around with my mate. Bought a t-shirt. And they'll break up again, and then they'll get to be, they'll be granddads like the Rolling Stones, and they'll reform again for one last hurrah. We'll have those two albums again, and we'll all be there with our Zimmer frames.
Time also flies when you're focused in the moment. When you concentrate on a task and you shut everything else out and you just do what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's no distraction. You're just in the moment, just getting on with it. Go through the motion, whatever you've got to do, and then go, oh, blimey,
That's
time.
Exactly. The thing that you're hinting at there is the fact that our perception of time changes, doesn't it? We get fixed in this measurement. We get fixed by this, and we are restricted by seconds and minutes and hours and days and months, and we have this very regimented, set, blocked concept of time.
Society has done that to us.
Exactly. But of course, if you look at the science of it, you look at all the stuff that Stephen Hawking's done. And he's proven that time isn't like that. Time isn't regimented intervals. Time is flexible. Time is fluid and elastic. If you get too close to a black hole, time starts doing all kinds of really weird stuff. And they've even proved that species on this planet have a different experience of time. Why do you think it's so hard to spot a fly? A fly lands there, I do that as quick as I can.
You still won't get it.
The fly's gone. Because whilst I do that, and to me it's that fast, to the fly, I'm going like that.
I'll give you a trick there, though. If you do it with two hands, because they see the same out of either eye. If you do it with two hands, keep that one shaking and go like that, you'll get the fly. I'll just
remember
it's
that.
just something I know.
I remember
Sad bit of something I know.
It's about perspective. Again, it's about the
Mosquito
perspective.
just beside your head there.
But I love this,
There's a couple.
that perception of time.
There you go.
Perception of time, and how when we're at work,
You made it
right,
worse.
sometimes, right, work time drags, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But then when we're doing something that we want to do, you think, I want to do it for a bit longer, but I've got no more time.
Yeah.
And that's strange.
It
What
is.
you're just saying,
It
the
is
whole
strange.
thing about time.
Our perspective of it changes, and we can experience time differently. But regardless of whether we're experiencing time seemingly speeded up or slowed down,
I always think it's amazing, Jim, when you've got a task to do and you've got just a set amount of time to do it, you always manage to, whether it's possible or not.
You can, yeah, it is amazing when you do focus, when you do have that deadline.
It's just
suddenly you can.
All of a sudden, you've still got 10 minutes and you're just about there. And when you started, there was just no way you were going to be able to do it in the time you've got.
Or you can know you've got ages to do something and you can procrastinate and faff about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep putting it off.
Yeah.
Or kitchen.
Yeah.
Painting.
No, you're all right. Regardless of how our experience of time is at that moment, the one thing that is constant is we only have this moment.
Mm.
Regardless of whether that moment was further ago than it maybe seemed to be, depending on the task we're doing, we still only have this moment.
Mm.
And so, yeah, we perhaps shouldn't be upset or I suppose the point is it's easy to become not confused, but it's easy to become disorientated when time seems to speed up or slow down. Yeah, if we can accept the fact that it happens, that from time to time our perception of time alters, but root ourselves in the present moment, then there is still that constant, there is still that stillness at the heart of it that prevents us from becoming confused or disorientated.
Even the same period of time, the same course of time, can feel different times. Like, for example, I've been married, 6 odd years,
Well done.
and it feels like a long time sometimes, and other times it feels like an instant. Bloody hell, 6 years already. It's weird.
Yeah, but it's like with your mindful meditation. You know, when I first started, just sitting for 10 minutes seemed ages.
Yeah.
Just sitting doing nothing
Yeah.
for 10 minutes, it was like, oh, getting twitchy. Now I can just sit and breathe for 10 minutes, and
It's the actual practice.
it's simple.
And
It's
you
simple.
don't get it unless you do practice. And then it can drift away as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Just put a spear on, just put it on the floor.
I know. I've realised that. I've totally disrupted some karmic event's going to go.
It's my worst trait, I must admit. Time is my worst trait. I'm a 10-minute early person.
Right.
I can't be a minute late.
Right.
And it would play on my mind I just think it would be rude if I was late somewhere. And I'm trying to enforce that on the family as well, but it's not the girls. I've got all girls, and
Right.
they
Well
don't
done.
work on the same time frame as me, and I find that agitating. You know, because I can't accept it sometimes for what it is. I have to, because I'm trying to impose my time on them.
And that's it. We do that, don't we? We try and impose our perception of time and expect that everybody else is experiencing time. I completely sympathise. You know, I often have to do the school run in the morning because my wife goes to work and I have to get the kids ready. And you get the breakfast down and it's like, get your shoes on, we've got to go, we've got to be out the door, put that down, and they seem oblivious to it.
Yeah, but if you said in the past, they are mindful. Children are mindful.
Oh,
aren't
they tend to be.
You know, they're not thinking
They're not thinking
ahead.
about
I've got to be at school in 10 minutes. They are in the moment.
That's it.
They don't have such.
We're suffering the consequence
Yeah.
of what might happen as opposed to accepting what's just happening.
Exactly,
Yes.
it's consequence.
Yeah.
We put too much emphasis
Yeah.
on consequence sometimes.
Yeah.
And then, but we try and teach that to our children, don't we? We try and teach them about consequences because it's an important life lesson.
Yeah, I said it to my grandson tonight. He's been out working all day, working hard. He's gone to the gym tonight, and I just said, don't overdo it. Yeah, but it's got to be done. that's the word at the moment. It's
Yeah.
got to be. I said, yeah, you work hard all day, don't overdo it. And I know that because I can, and I do. And I'm sort of trying to impose it onto him, but he's doing it anyway, so there's not much of that.
Your capacity to do stuff when you're young is a lot more than that. I mean, you can do more, you've got the energy, you've got the time. You've got maybe
And the inclination.
maybe the responsibilities, you know what I mean?
Things
Fit more in.
are more important to you, and less important to you.
That's it. Let's breathe.
Okay.
Well done, you've all been doing this for the last 40 minutes without me having to prompt you. Okay, so you may close your eyes if you wish, and our breath, our awareness of our breath just brings us instantly to the present moment, because we can't breathe in the past, we can't breathe in the future. We can only breathe in the present moment. So just become aware of breathing in and breathing out, and then the pause between breaths. I just invite you for the next few moments to just be aware of that. Breathing in, breathing out, and the pause between breaths. And if your mind wanders, just bring it back to awareness of the breath. And as you breathe, I invite the bowl to sound. As you breathe, I invite you to really focus your awareness on that pause between breaths. Connect with the stillness within the pause between your breath. Enjoy the stillness of the pause between your breaths. as you rest in the awareness of your breath and the awareness of the pause